Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Rich, aka Major Monkey, and today we're going to be doing a mouse review for the Waizowl OGM Pro V2. And yeah, I just wanted to do a full review, give my thoughts and opinions of it, let you guys know if I would recommend the mouse or not. If you guys are new to the video, first off, welcome. Thank you for checking out the channel. Quick little kind of rundown of how I break these videos down. First part is just going to be an overview of the specs of the mouse. The second part is just going to be some shape comparisons to maybe some mice that you have or at least have seen in the past. And lastly is just my overall thoughts and opinions of the mouse, things that I liked, things that I didn't, and like I said, would I recommend it? Yeah, let's get straight into the video. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoy it. Alrighty guys, so when going to their website, we can see that it's selling for $95.99. It comes in 6 colorways, an all black, a red version, which is the one that we currently have right now, a pink fade, sky fade, typo, and Kanagawa wave. Now, if you know me, I'm someone that loves when they kind of go above and beyond past the typical, black and white with black accent colorways. Anytime a company gives that option of variety, I always love getting the unique colorways just so that my collection looks unique. It doesn't look just one big swoop of black or one big swoop of white with black accents. I like that when I look at my collection, there's various different colorways, and so huge shout out to Waizowl for choosing to go that route and including unique options. When looking at the OGM Pro V2, we can see that they're using a TTC silver encoder. For the MCU, it's a Nordic 52840. They're rocking the 3950 sensor. For their coating, they're using this Feather Gen 3 coating. As someone that has hyperhidrosis and my hands kind of sweat more than usual sometimes, the coating's been great. I haven't had any issues with it. There's never been a time where I'm using the mouse and I feel like my grip is slipping or I don't feel confident with my grip. So the coating's been really good, at least for me personally. And it's weighted at 49 grams. For my personal copy, I had it at 54.5 grams. 54.5 grams is, that is not a problem whatsoever. I don't really start to feel the heaviness in mice until maybe about like 65, high 60s maybe. So 54.5 is no sweat whatsoever. I will say though, since their target is 49 and that's what they're advertising, I do feel like 54.5 is a little not misleading, but it's a little too far out, and I wish it was a little more honed in and closer to that 59 target. But nonetheless, though, 54.5 grams is no slouch. It feels super lightweight still. I had never had an issue when using the mouse. It feels very balanced and well proportioned with the weight. So yeah, just a little nitpick there, but no big deal though. It does have a polling rate up to 8,000, so you're not having to go ahead and purchase, an additional dongle for $15 to $25, like how some mice do. And so big W to Waizowl for, just kind of including that right out of the box. And so for the switches on the mouse, the main switches are Huano Blue Shell pink dots. The side buttons are KO blue bottom green dots. And the middle mouse button has a Huano black shell white dot. Here's a quick little sound test of those buttons. Alrighty guys, so typically at this part of the video, I would have about maybe 2 to 3 mice that I feel are very similar to the mouse that I'm reviewing, or sometimes in some cases nearly identical. That is not the case with the Waizowl OGM Pro V2. I typically use ELO shapes for these shape comparisons, and they have an awesome feature called Find Similar, where you can type in a mouse and it'll show you a list of mice that they deem to be similar in shape. When you do that with the OGM Pro V2, nothing pops up. The only options that pop up for you are the first versions of the OGM 1 and the OGM Pro. So I never had that happen before, and I think I understand why though. They advertise this mouse as an ergonomic mouse, and I do think it has some ergonomic characteristics. I don't think I would call it an ergo mouse. So basically the way I'll break this down is, if you were to cut the mouse in half, right, and there was a bottom half and an upper half, the bottom half of the mouse, I think, is where there's the ergonomic characteristics to the mouse, and the upper part is more of like a symmetrical mouse kind of design. And so I have two shapes here, not to compare really with the mouse, but to showcase these characteristics that these both of the mice have, that kind of create the OGM Pro V2, where it's like this kind of hybrid of the two. And so the first mouse I'll show you is the DeathAdder V3 Pro, another ergonomic mouse. As you can see here in the picture, these two mice are very different. Now, it does have, if we look at the top-down view, ergonomic characteristics to it, right? It has kind of those curves like ergonomic mice do, but not nearly as aggressive as something like the DeathAdder V3 Pro has here. You can also see it's a much smaller mouse than the DeathAdder V3 Pro. If we look at the side profile here, you can see the gap between them in terms of height is pretty consistent all the way through until you get to the back side of the mouse, where they kind of start to almost connect and meet. Typically with ergo mice, they kind of have that more aggressive slope downwards. When it comes like the overall arch, you know, they're not really kind of perfectly rounded. They'll kind of have an aggressive slope either in the front or the back. But with the OGM Pro V2, it doesn't really have that. It's kind of just uniformed and perfectly rounded the whole way through. So like I said, you can see where it has its ergonomic characteristics in the curves on that bottom half, right? And then the second mouse I wanted to compare to is the Viper V3 Pro. And as you can see, they are nearly identical when it comes to that upper half portion in terms of the height. And so when you think of ergo mice, they're very bulky and rounded and tall mice. As you can see here from the side profile, it's a very low profiled height mouse. And it's almost perfectly identical with the Viper V3 Pro. Now, the Viper V3 Pro is a longer mouse, and so it does extend farther past the OGM Pro V2, but just in terms of height alone, they are very, very similar. And so that's where I kind of mean that it has this weird kind of hybrid aspect to it, where the upper half is more of something like this symmetrical mouse of a V3 Pro, a Viper V3 Pro, but the bottom of the mouse has its more ergo characteristics like a DeathAdder V3 Pro. So it's like this weird in the middle of, you know, a symmetrical mouse and an ergo mouse kind of combined, and you got the OGM Pro V2. So, I mean, huge shout out to Waizowl for choosing to go with a shape that obviously isn't similar to any other mouse. You know, the fact that Elo Shapes doesn't give you anything to compare it to is just funny. But big kudos to them for going with a shape that isn't, you know, your cookie cutter shape that 12 other mice have. You know, there's so many mice out there where they're just simply a clone of something else. And I appreciate that they went above and beyond to go with a shape that, you know, pulls characteristics from not just the same mice in a same category, but different mice in different categories. You have stuff from symmetrical mice, you have things from ergo mice, and it's all kind of just blended into what you have here. So not exactly a shape comparison like I typically do, but hopefully this helps give you an idea of what to expect with the mouse, with it being such a unique shape. Now let's go to the final part of the video, which are just my overall thoughts and opinions. Alright guys, so as we wrap up this video, like I said earlier, I've been using the mouse for about a week and a half now, and if I gotta be honest guys, this mouse is a clear recommendation, and if you have the money and you've been interested in getting it at all, I say 100% pull the trigger. This mouse has been nothing but phenomenal. At least for me personally, with my personal copy. I've been playing games like Valorant, Deadlock, the finals, and whatever shooter I threw at it, it just performed spectacularly. I had zero issues with it. The side buttons and the main buttons all felt phenomenal. For me personally, the placement of the side buttons are just perfect. I don't have to move my thumb some crazy distance to reach them. They're basically right there where my thumb is at. I think in all the mice that I've used, these have some of the best side button placements for me personally. Again, this is me talking about my hand size and my preferences. So universally, maybe someone might not love where the side buttons are placed. But for me personally though, I love them. The shape of the mouse overall, with it being this weird hybrid of, you know, characteristics of different mice, yeah, I love it, man. The mouse fits in my palm so perfectly that there are very few mice that I've used where I can just simply grab it and I'm perfectly just have a confident grip with it already. I don't have to readjust, nothing. It just, I grab it and it fits in my hand perfectly. I don't want to sound like I'm shilling the mouse too much, because I do have some nitpicks, right? I was nitpicking the weight being a little bit heavier than what they were advertising, you know. Things like the coating, although the coating is great, and as someone that has hyperhidrosis, it never failed on me. The one nitpick with the coating is that it is kind of a fingerprint magnet. Thankfully, with these brighter colorways, you don't really notice that. But with something like the OGM Cloud V2 here, I don't know if you'll be able to notice it on the camera, but it is a fingerprint magnet. There are smudges everywhere, fingerprints everywhere. So if you're someone like me that doesn't really care for that kind of stuff, definitely recommend you go with the colorways that are more brighter and can kind of easily mask those things. So stuff like that, the weight, the hub for the mouse, it's a good hub. If you know me though, I'm someone that much prefers a web-based hub instead of a software application that you have to download. I also don't like how overly cluttered the hub feels. You have 6 different sections that you can click into. You have your typical things like changing the button functions, you know, your DPI, polling rate. You have your macro editor here. You have, you know, your more in-depth advanced settings for the mouse, such as your lift-off distance, motion sync, ripple, angle snap, you know, your wake-up mode, sleep timer, debounce time, you know, stuff like that, double-click speed. And although the hub is fine, it works perfectly. I haven't had issues with it whatsoever. One hub that I think of always is the hub from the Akitsu from Arbiter Studios and Vancer. It was just simply one page. It had everything you needed. It was a web browser. It was just perfect. And so to me, that's like the golden standard of a hub, whether it be software or web-based. So I wish this was a little more condensed than what it is, but like I said, I haven't had issues with it at all, and overall it's been a phenomenal experience with the mouse. The battery life feels super solid. I can easily go days and days with playing it at 8K and not worry about the battery. I don't think it's way better than any other 8K mouse or worse. It's just kind of, it's been the typical experience I've had when using 8K. You know, it's going to chew at your battery, and so you can expect, hundreds of hours of battery life. But it easily gives me a couple days of play. It charges fast, and yeah, guys, whatever game I played with it, it felt phenomenal. I had such a good time with it. The build is so solid. I really don't have any complaints. Definitely an easy recommendation. A couple nitpicks here and there, but like I said, guys, if you can afford it and you've been eyeing this mouse for a while now, I think it's easily a no-brainer, and definitely one of my favorite mice of the year so far. Waizowl nailed it, and huge congrats to them for making such a fantastic mouse. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll check you next time.